story begins. I always believed December revealed who we really are. Cold strips away the noise. No crowds, no traffic. Just the sound of your own breathing. Before the divorce, winter meant comfort. Mark, my ex-husband, loved Christmas. He'd hang lights before Thanksgiving, blast the same old playlist, insist on decorating together even when we were barely talking. I convinced myself that was warmth. That marriage meant holding on even when everything felt frozen. But the truth hit hard this past spring. Some things die long before the season does. So when December returned, and my mother suggested I spend a few days at our family cabin in Red Hollow, I said yes. I needed space, silence, somewhere my thoughts wouldn't echo off someone else's expectations. The cabin sat at the end of a narrow mountain road, tucked behind tall pines that looked like silent sentries. It wasn't fancy. Stone fireplace, old beams, mismatched furniture, but it smelled like cedar. My dad built it before I was born. It always felt like the safest place on earth. I drove up. The morning blizzard warnings filled the radio. I shrugged them off. I wasn't going anywhere. Isolation was the whole point. That first night, as the storm rolled in like something alive, I sat by the fire with a blanket around my shoulders, scribbling half-heartedly in a journal. Wind rattled the windows. Snow drifted sideways like ghostly smoke. And in that deep, uneasy silence, I felt truly alone for the first time in months. The power went out around 11. No drama, just a soft pop, and darkness swallowing the cabin, inch by inch. I lit an old lantern from the mantel. The flame flickered with every gust, shivering with the walls. Around midnight, something strange caught my eye through the frost-coated window. Lights. Small beams moving between the pines. At first, I thought they might be rescue workers checking cabins or hikers caught in the storm. But the lights moved too slowly, too deliberately. My stomach tightened. Then I heard voices. No fresh tracks except the ones from earlier, a man said. Sharp, cold, nothing like a rescuer. Another voice answered. Storms covering everything. Nobody's getting up here for days. I dropped beneath the window, heart pounding so hard it hurt. These were not search teams. These were men who believed isolation gave them permission. Boots crunched through the snow. Someone laughed. A low, mean sound. Another voice said, "Cabin looks empty. Perfect." Panic cut through me like ice. I grabbed the lantern, snuffed it out, and moved down the hallway. Every old floorboard threatening to betray me. I thought about running outside, but the storm was roaring so violently, I knew I wouldn't make it 10 steps. The only real hiding place was the attic storage crawl space. I climbed up, pulled the hatch shut behind me, and burrowed deep into the insulation. Cold fibers clung to my clothes and stung my skin. but they swallowed the sound of my breathing. Below me, the cabin door splintered. A voice muttered, low and rough. "Check the kitchen. Grab whatever we can use." Another answered, "Keep your eyes open. I swear I heard something in here." And in the darkness above them, I prayed they couldn't hear my heartbeat hammering through the floorboards. They tore through the cabin like scavengers. Drawers slammed, boots scraped across the wood. One man let out a satisfied grunt. Food for 3, maybe 4 days. Storm did us a favor. Another voice, deeper, irritated, snapped, "You sure nobody's here? A light was on earlier." Storm probably tripped
Another
the lines.
added,
So
"Relax."
I curled myself between boxes of old winter clothes and a rusted snow shovel. Every inch of me trembled. The insulation made my throat itch, but I forced myself not to cough. My dad always said the cabin was built strong enough to survive any storm. I wondered if he ever imagined something worse than weather fighting its way inside. Through the attic vent, faint shapes drifted across the floor below, shadows gliding like they were alive. And then, the sound I feared most. Footsteps heading toward the attic ladder. "Check up there," a man ordered. "Just in case." My breath froze in my chest. The ladder creaked as someone grabbed it. But another man yelled from the kitchen, "Hey, come look at this!" The intruder hesitated, cursed under his breath, stomped away. It bought me seconds, but seconds weren't enough. I needed a distraction, something big enough to rattle them, something they couldn't explain. Then I remembered the old metal vent shaft behind the fireplace, the one my brother and I used to drop toys down when we were kids. I slid my lantern toward it, nudged it through the opening, and prayed gravity would do the rest. A moment later, crash! The lantern shattered on the basement floor, echoing through the cabin like a scream. "What the hell was that?" someone shouted. "I told you this place ain't right," another whispered. A third hissed, "Shut up. Everyone, quiet." The silence that followed felt thick enough to choke on. The storm hammered the walls, but below me, the men stood frozen, listening to something they couldn't understand. "I swear I heard whispering," one muttered, "right behind me." "You're hearing the wind," another snapped, though even he didn't sound convinced. A third voice whispered, "You know what people say about cabins up here. Stuff happens during whiteouts." That was all it took. Boots shuffled backward. Someone, something metallic, clattered to the floor. "I'm not staying in here," the first man said, voice cracking. "I'm not dying in some haunted woods." "We're not leaving because you're scared of—" Before he finished, a deep groan rumbled from the lower floor, wind twisting through the broken vent system. But to terrified men in a dark cabin, it sounded like something breathing. "Nope, I'm out," one yelled. Then everything erupted at once. Doors slamming, panicked footsteps, men tripping over furniture as they bolted into the blizzard. The storm swallowed them within seconds. I waited, counted to 60, then 200, until nothing remained except the wind. Still, I didn't move. Not until red and blue lights flashed through the trees and voices called out above the storm. I pushed the attic hatch open. My legs barely held. The cabin was cold, ransacked, eerily still. A firefighter spotted me. "Ma'am, are you all right?" I nodded, though my voice, outside, the snow no longer felt like a threat. It felt like a warning I had survived. For hours, I sat, wrapped in a blanket, answering questions from sheriff's deputies, fighting exhaustion as they surveyed the wreckage. They told me the storm had shut down every road for miles. Rescue teams were checking remote cabins for anyone trapped. They hadn't expected a break-in. One deputy shook his head at the splintered door. Storms bring out the worst kinds of people. They think the weather hides everything. As the adrenaline faded, the truth hit me like cold water. Those men weren't just trespassing. They were settling in, planning to stay, planning to survive off whatever they could find. A firefighter asked softly, "Do you have someone to stay with tonight?" "Yeah," I whispered. I didn't mean a person. I meant somewhere warm. Somewhere the darkness didn't press in so close. They drove me down the mountain. Once the plows carved a path, the cabin grew smaller in the rearview mirror. Windows black, roof heavy with snow. It had always been my safe place. Quiet, still, simple. But now I understood something I never had before. Solitude isn't always peaceful. Silence isn't always gentle. And even the safest places hold shadows. When the world outside goes quiet. I didn't return to the cabin for the rest of December. I stayed with my parents, helped my mom bake cookies, listened to my dad complain about tangled Christmas lights. It felt human, warm, alive. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I belonged somewhere again. Solitude can heal, but it can also blind you. Preparation, awareness, and instincts are the real difference between vulnerability and survival. Even in peaceful places, stay alert, because safety isn't the absence of people. It's the presence of caution. People always assumed I took house-sitting jobs because I loved quiet places. But the truth was simple. I needed the money. Life after college hadn't unfolded the way I expected. My graphic design degree hadn't turned into a stable career. My student loans kept growing. And I was juggling 3 part-time gigs just to keep my checking account alive. So when my friend Hannah told me the Barlows, the wealthiest couple on the west side of town, needed someone to watch their house every December while they traveled overseas, I didn't hesitate. Part 7. The Barlow's place wasn't a house. It was an estate. A long, winding driveway curved up a hill toward a stone front colonial, surrounded by sculpted hedges and glowing Christmas displays. The first time I stepped through the front door, it felt like I'd walked straight onto the set of a holiday movie. Garlands draped the banister. A 12-foot artificial tree shimmered with gold ribbon. And the fireplace looked big enough to roast a whole deer. The Barlows were kind, polite in that distant way wealthy people sometimes are. They walked me through the rules with corporate precision. Feed the golden retriever twice a day. Water the poinsettias every 3 days. Bring in packages from the porch. And never enter the locked wine cellar. We'll be in Switzerland until the 29th, Mrs. Barlow said, handing me a folder of emergency contacts. The security system alerts us if anything unusual happens. So you don't need to worry. And I believed her. For the first few nights, everything was easy. I watched old sitcoms on their massive TV, chipped away at design commissions in the Sunwoo, and walked Max, their overly friendly golden retriever, around the property. The only thing that bothered me were the faint noises inside the walls at night. Soft pacing, quiet thumps. I blamed the old heating system, turned over, and forced myself to sleep. I shouldn't have ignored it. By the fourth night, the house felt less charming and more cavernous. Every sound lingered too long. Every shadow stretched too far. Even Max, who normally wasn't afraid of anything, kept pacing near the basement door, whining under his breath. I told myself dogs reacted to drafts or appliances, but deep down, something was unsettling me too. Then came the morning after the freezing rainstorm. I went downstairs to grab pancake mix from the pantry. I flipped on the light, stepped inside, and froze. Muddy footprints, small, narrow, shaped like work boots. They led from the basement door straight to the lower shelves where the canned food was stored. At first, I panicked, thinking I tracked something in. But when I placed my boot beside the print, the difference was obvious. Someone else had been inside the house. Trying to steady myself, I checked every door and window. All locked. No shattered glass. No pried screens. No forced entry. My stomach. Whoever left those prints didn't come from outside. They came from somewhere inside. I powered up the Barlow security system and opened the footage. High-end cameras, motion-triggered clips, timestamps. I scrolled backward through the night. Nothing. empty halls, snow drifting over the driveway, Max asleep under the dining table. Then, a flicker, barely a sliver of movement on the basement camera. A shape, hugging the very edge of the frame, slipping just outside the camera's angle. As if he knew exactly where the blind spots were. My mouth went dry. I clicked frame by frame, hands trembling. And then the truth hit me like ice water. The man wasn't breaking in at night. He was already living here. He had been here long before I arrived. My brain refused to accept it. But there he was, a faint, blurred outline of a man moving through the dark, gliding along the walls like he knew them better than the owners did. Max barked once, sharp and urgent, confirming everything I feared. I grabbed the nearest weapon, a fire poker from beside the fireplace, and crept toward the basement. Cold air wrapped around me as I descended the steps. Dust and cardboard filled the air. Max stood at the top of the stairs, growling, ears pinned back. The storage room beneath the stairs had always felt oddly placed. The Barlows told me they used it for holiday decorations. But now, standing in front of it, I noticed something I never had before. A faint draft slipping through the cracks. Warm air mixing with cold. I tightened my grip on the poker and turned the knob. The space inside was barely the size of a walk-in closet. Holiday boxes lined the walls, but behind them, something else. I pushed aside a tub labeled Lights Red, and my heart dropped. A makeshift bed, thin blankets over flattened cardboard, a half-eaten granola bar, a water bottle, a folded work shirt with a land. Someone had been living here. Recently, I backed up too fast, knocking over a box of ornaments. They shattered across the floor, echoing through the basement. And from somewhere above me, a board creaked. A slow, deliberate shift of weight. He knew I was down here. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." I sprinted up the stairs, slammed the basement door, locked it, and shoved a dining chair against the handle. My hands were shaking so hard, I could barely dial 911. "Someone's in the house," I said, my voice cracking. "He's been living here. I think he's downstairs." As I spoke, the basement door rattled once, then again, harder. He wasn't hiding anymore. The dispatcher told me to get somewhere safe and lock the door. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed Max by the collar and ran upstairs, legs barely holding me upright. The nearest room with a lock was the guest bedroom at the end of the hall. I slammed the door, locked it, shoved a dresser in front. Max paced and barked, pressing against my leg whenever he got close, as if he knew how close I was to breaking. The entire house felt different now. Every creak, every shift, every tap of a branch against the siding made my skin crawl. And then, footsteps, heavy, intentional, climbing the stairs. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I pressed myself against the far wall, the fire poker shaking in my hands. "The police are on the way," the dispatcher said in my ear, but her voice sounded impossibly far away.